Good evening, and welcome to the 23 January 2024 Board of County Commissioners Shit Explosion. I always say on the Alan Osborne Show, you can't make this shit up, and you really can't. So without further ado, we're going to get into probably the biggest civil rights violations you'll ever see. The worst run meeting you'll ever see by a chairman who doesn't have a clue, and I'll stop him and point it out. And then the mercy killing that they gave Quinn Robertson from the attack of the good old boys. This kind of government is hideous, and we got to do something about it. So without further ado, let's start the meeting.
The next order of business is recognition of guests. Is Sheriff Atkinson here?
He's back there.
Sheriff's here, and I believe I saw Hughes. Thank you for being here today. Anybody I'm missing that is the boards or elected? Okay, recognition.
Well, basically, we're going to listen to Russell Hughes and the sheriff. Hold on just a second.
Superintendent A. Russell Hughes, Walton County School District.
Just real briefly, Commissioners, what we're asking today is that we are all very cognizant. We're all very cognizant of the growth going on in Walton County. You know, we've experienced about 6.6% growth. Here was about 2.2%, 2.3%.
I'm going to save you the pain of the pontificator of the same name as Clay Atkinson. Him and Russell Hughes get up there, and basically here's what they say. Hey, we just now realized as the sheriff and the superintendent that our resources that we have to provide are connected to what the county is doing. Well, no shit, you two dipshits. We've been saying that for 10 or 15 years, that y'all's communication with the county and the comp plan and how it affects schools and rezoning, that y'all have marched in zero lockstep between what the county's doing and approving and what you guys' jobs will be affected by. You haven't cared because you've had an endless flood of money, and you see the end going. Citizens were saying what you were saying in 2010, 2015, and here y'all are rolling in the door like two dumpy bag of donuts to tell the commission, hey, no shit, we need to talk. You can't beat this. We've got to put this out. And why are they here? It's an election year. Mikey's going to look concerned. That's what's going to go on. And Clay's going to help him. Clay's up there typing like a madman trying to get through this. So I'll just save y'all the pain of what those guys are doing up there and tell you that they spend 20 minutes pontificating on, we all got to talk. Well, no shit, it's a little too late. You better talk. Anyway.
The agenda is the first edition.
Now we're going to get into with Melissa Thomason that we screwed up the pay. And we're going to have, the citizens are going to have to pay because the checks bounced, basically. How this happened, I don't know. They said it was the perfect storm. Well, automated pay system shouldn't be that hard. Governments and local, and they know all these dates and anticipation dates. This is just a screw up, and she goes on to describe that. Because what we did, if you don't know, if you had out there in Alan Osborne show land, some of the people didn't get paid. The Walton County employees' checks bounced, and so we're all going to pay for that probably too. So I'll let her pontificate on that a little bit.
All right, Ms. Thompson, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. To bring up an issue that we had with this past payroll. I know that you're all aware of it, but just to make sure everyone is on the same page and to very briefly kind of go over what happened with the payroll. Really the perfect storm, and I do want to say we have never, in as far back as I can tell, ever had an issue like this to occur. But with this last payroll, we had the storm. We had regular time, we had admin leave keyed, holiday pay, PTO hours, medical pay, regular overtime, FEMA overtime, and regular FEMA hours. When you have that many pay codes, you have a lot of changes and corrections that need to be made. The volume of those, I know finance staff in the clerk's office, they came in Martin Luther King Day to start working on it because they knew the volume of corrections there would be. They worked, I think, until 7:30 that night. They worked 12 hours a day. They were trying to get that payroll out.
The bottom line is it didn't happen. And they screwed it up. And they said they're going to fix it where it's never going to happen again. So there you have it. We didn't get paid in Walton County if you were an employee, some of you. And then they're going to figure out what to do with all those bounce checks. Moving on. So here we are, and Quinn has just read the item County Administrator Termination. So here we go. Now Boots has already screwed up. When the sheriff and them and some of them got to speak, they didn't take any public comment. Then he let some woman get up and make public comment on something that nobody else was offered. Boots couldn't read a set of rules and follow them if Jesus was standing next to him. It's really pathetic that he cannot run this meeting. He forgets stuff constantly. And then he completely, later on, his idea of free speech is you talk about what I want, and if it goes anywhere that I don't understand, which don't take much for Boots. I'm not sure if it's Boots or we need to get him some sneakers, because sneakers must be going senile, because he cannot understand the simplest things told to him. So without further ado, continue.
Commissioner Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, you have the floor.
I stand by my motion from the previous meeting where it was just, decided to table this until this meeting. And if Mr. Atkinson or the clerk can read the motion, I stand by that motion.
I believe the motion was to terminate the county administrator. There was no causal designation as part of that, so absent an express designation of with cause, it shall be treated without cause if passed. We procedurally back right where we left off, Mr. Chairman, which was entering into public comment.
Okay. As far as board discussion, we have already covered the board side of the discussion of this at the last meeting.
Started that, so you're going to public comment, whether you and the board have any additional discussion or discretion.
At this time, in reference to the motion that was made, just to clarify, the motion was...
Okay, so we're about to go to public comment. Some things I want you to pay attention to is the body language, especially of Tony Anderson and Danny Glidewell. They look like the Pivot twins. They're over there spinning in those chairs like kindergartners in the corner. They can't sit still because they know everything that's going to be said, they can't control it, and most of it's true. They just got to hope that they can please Shipman and the good old boys and get Quinn out of there. Now, Trey's supporters are in the audience, and one of them tells Boots he's an idiot in the middle of the meeting. And Boots gets mad at the crowd, but it's Trey's friends. And Chas Galloway's hanging in the hallway. He'll speak soon, and we'll talk about that too. So without further ado, we go on with Tony Anderson's hit job that's probably going to make Quinn very rich and possibly somebody else. Let's go on and hear on what they're going to do. Tony wants to fire him without cause. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see what the public thinks.
Second, to terminate the county administrator. That is the motion on the table. At this time, I will go to public comment. You will be restricted to 3 minutes. So the public has the floor. Who's first? Who would like to speak first? Yes, ma'am. As always, identify yourself for the clerk, please.
I'm Lori Eccles.
And comments to this particular issue.
I certainly will. This is about Quinn, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We really can't hear y'all back there. Oh, anybody can hear me.
That's Sharon Roberts' phone that keeps going off, sitting next to Danny's aide. I've been almost afraid to be ejected by the cops, but she sat there in the front row with her phone dinging the whole time like she was clueless. It goes off constantly, and she never silences her. Good job, Eunice. Continue, Lori.
Well, I tell you, I have been at every one of these meetings. The November meeting, the December, or was it January meeting when it ended up going to the January meeting, and now this one. And the precedent that this is giving for anyone coming into this county as an employee. Why in the world would anybody want to come? Why would these men even want to stay in this county? I don't even know. But I'm going to tell you this. I had the opportunity at the last meeting to go out into the parking lot afterwards on my way home and had a conversation with a gentleman in the parking lot. And he seemed to feel like the problem that y'all had with Quinn wasn't with Quinn at all. That the problem was with Joe. And the only way to get rid of Joe was to get...
Call you back. This is not a conversation about Joe.
Okay.
Boots is going to go through this pattern that he can't understand any relationship to any of this issue unless somebody gets up there and says some words like, we don't want you to fire Quinn, we like Quinn. You're not allowed to tell the story. This is not free speech. We're trying to tell, and a lot of us got up there trying to tell, what was wrong about this action and why it was going on. And Boots McCormick's not going to have any of it. None of it.
Boy, his name should not be in conversation.
Okay, I won't bring his name up anymore. Please scratch that from what I said.
Consider that I've called you out of order. If you do it again, you will
I am
have
not
a
going to
chance to
mention his name again. I certainly will not. But I had a conversation with Gary Shipman out in the parking lot that day with who I was talking about. And he seemed to think, and granted, I know, y'all, you're going to tell me to stop on this one too. He seemed to think that the reason that y'all were against Quinn was because he was a MAGA. And if y'all are having these problems and y'all are bringing up people for their political beliefs, this is a man that has fought for this country. He's a veteran. He came here to do a job. And I am telling you right now, if y'all are calling out people's political beliefs, we got a lot more problems in this county than I think we do. Vindication is coming for these people. Anybody can watch television any given night of the week and see what they're doing to Donald Trump. I am telling you, this needs to stop. It needs to stop here and today. And that's what I'm going to say. But I have to...
Now, Lori goes on to read some scripture to them, and they don't like it. Tony's about to go over and have a fit. Look at Danny lean back there like he's got to take a dump. I'm telling you, this is going on. Brad is appalled, and I'm going to explain. A lot of people didn't understand what Brad did tonight, but I think I do. And, of course, Boots is still wondering how he can shut somebody else down. So we're going to skip through Lori for a minute and get some other people up here, and we'll get to their main comments. Sorry, Lori, it was a great scripture reading, but let's get on with this.
Thank you, Chas Galloway.
Let me go ahead and give you this reminder. This is our county administrator, no other employees. Keep it to the
Yes, sir.
motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've really just got a question that I want to ask everyone to consider. And that's what kind of Walton County are we trying to live in? Because as history has taught us, going off a lot of the behavior that we've seen recently, we're not building a Walton County that anyone will want to live in.
You're about to hear a speech from the most self-centered little piece of shit I've ever had the pleasure to meet, probably. This guy doesn't know anything about freedom. Nothing. He's going to quote a bunch of bullshit. Chas, hadn't you been sleeping with people's wives in the county and crap like this? What's really going on is Chas and Uriah and Robert and all them supported the 1% sales tax. And now they're trying to keep information out of the public that Chas had and left on public computers. And they've launched a federal investigation on Joe and them because they may have had those county computers that Chas left it on when he was a county employee. But he's going to be the only one that wants the administrator fired the only one. All the other cowards, Shipman and all them, aren't to be there. They put Phony Tony up. Yep, if y'all aren't familiar, that's Tony's moniker. If we pick Tony, we'll all get a phony, and that improves this year. But listen to this shitbag speak. In my opinion, this guy is everything that he says. He's subversive, and he doesn't want a fair playing field. He sits outside the room and grins, and I firmly believe this is one of the people that Brad later references as a shitty grin. This is the man, and they're probably going to make him rich by setting up this BS on Quinn for Chas, and Chas is going to use that to sue the county. Congratulations, you dirty people that helped him. Go ahead, Chas.
I'm a big history buff. You know, in the 30s and 40s, Germany, speech did not exist. You spoke out against the government, you could get arrested, you could get shot, you'd be hauled off to a concentration camp.
Now, he's pontificated for a couple of minutes, nothing about, or 30 seconds, nothing about Quinn. And Boots hadn't said a word. You know why? Because this is one of Boots' buddies. Go ahead, Chas.
Just for speaking out against the government. And that's what I've been doing recently. And because of that, it appears that high-ranking people inside the Walton County government, despite having no rational jurisdiction or authority to do so, launched an investigation into me. It appears they put me under surveillance.
So now we're at a minute, and Clay goes, oh crap, you've let him go too long. Don't let him go too long, because you're going to jump all over everybody else. But Chas hasn't said one word about Quinn. This is about Chas, some reference to Hitler, and this kid who's never knows nothing of history except the bullshit he thinks. The only history he should be part of is his IRS tax liens. But go ahead.
Hang on.
Per the rules, investigations are not subject to public comment or public discussion, so we're not going to be able to go into that, and I'm requesting.
So he's not saying you can't talk about it because it's a pending litigation, but Boots tells everybody else you're not talking about Quinn. So Boots has a different excuse for the one supporter of the firing of Quinn.
Yes, correct.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Next, I thought we can go up over here first. He's jumped. Yes. Identify yourself to the Madam Clerk, please.
Yes, my name is Matthew Morrell, a citizen of Walton County.
Now, this guy I've seen at a lot of meetings, and he's never spoken. He's just a quiet guy who comes to the meetings. We find out here he's a 30-year retired public servant, and both his kids have gone to West Point. This right here is an anomaly. This is an American servant who's produced two more servants for the people who have gone to one of the highest institutions in the county. Watch them blow him off. Watch what he thinks of this, of 30 years of government.
Sir, could you speak up just a little?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? That's Morrall, first name is Matthew. I haven't spoken here before. It's my first time doing this in this scenario. I'm a resident here in Walton County. I was born in Florida, raised in South Carolina, and spent 30 years in California. And I'm glad to live in this county. However, I see a lot of things here I don't like. Both of my kids are West Point graduates, so I have a little soft spot for the Army folks. My daughter graduated last May, and my son graduates this coming May. My daughter's soon to be deployed. I'm a full supporter of Mr. Quinn and everything he's done. I've met him and spoken with him on multiple times, and he is a highly intelligent person who can bring things in from a situation and a topic that a lot of people cannot do. And I think he's a valued employee of this county, and I think it's important you guys support him in his job effort here. He hasn't even been here a year. In addition to that, one of the things I was told by a commissioner several years ago for an issue was, how long have you lived here? That was the only question I got asked by Mr. Anderson for an issue a few years back. So I don't think that I'm not questioning his intelligence or anything. I'm questioning his ability to look deeply into a situation or scenario. And at the last meeting, I listened to things about insubordination that Mr. Anderson brought up, and also vaping. Apparently vaping is a felony here in Walton County. I didn't know that. Anyway, if he did vape, write him up for it. That's what he gets. So Another thing, if you fire Quinn, there's a trigger in his contract where Walton County got to pay out a lot of money. I don't think that's right either, to throw around Walton County money just like it's willy-nilly at all. The guy hasn't even been here a year at all, and he's doing his job. He has no history here, so he's not tied to any connections here of the attorney that was last mentioned. Let's see. Anyway, about sharp as they're going to get. What I would like to say is one last thing to Quinn is just apologize for what we've been through. And we support you. We're here for you, and we hope that the rest of y'all do too. Thank you.
Do y'all realize how great that is? That this county has got his head driven so far up its posterior that the citizens have to come apologize to the people that are done wrong by the good old boys. That's sad. Next.
Thank you, sir. Who's next? Ma'am.
Okay, I just want to clarify that we are.
Did you identify?
I'm sorry, Randy, R-A-N-D-I, Leitner. I just want to clarify, this is without cause termination at this time, correct?
That is correct.
Which means that we owe Quinn a big payout, correct?
We would owe severance and consistency in this contract.
And you would owe us no explanation, correct?
The board's public statements are what they do.
Okay. So.
Now look at Boots sit there. Address all questions to the chairman, he says. Now look where his finger is. Maybe he's smelling the other one. But Clay is answering for the board on stuff that's a question for the board. They should say what their position is, not what Clay says it is. Have y'all had enough of this? Is it enough? It was interesting. We had Sydney Knowles, the old county attorney, visiting tonight. I guess she couldn't believe the shit show was worse than when she ran it. But continue on, dear.
If there were a 4-to-1 with cause termination, I could respect and support that if I understood the reason behind it. And I understood that there were at least one person that I trust. But when we stand here in the previous meetings and all we hear is one person yelling, I like you, I trust you, I want to terminate you without cause, I have some sad news. I trust 50% of the 6 that I'm looking at right now, and I'd like to terminate 50% of you without cause. So if you have cause, this is my 3 minutes. If you have cause, please let us know what that cause is. If
you can carry on with.
She tells them, we've lost faith in you. And we have, the whole room is full of people who've lost faith in Clay and Boots and Danny and Tony and just praying for Brad and Donna to save us. But it's not going to happen. And Trey Nick's out there in the audience. He must have been shopping through the available wives and girlfriends. But he's out there just grinning ear to ear. But old Trey's looking tired. Looking a little stressed. What a shit show we got serving up here. Here we go. Continue, dear.
You're supporting him. You're not coming at the board. That's motion's night.
I'm not coming at the board. I'm giving my opinion on Mr. Robertson's termination.
No,
and my opinion is that if we fire without cause because of lack of trust, then 3 of you need to get up and leave.
You're next. Mr. Osborne.
What in the world does this crazy guy do? Here's my point, and Boots ain't going to like it. I'm going to pull out the Walton County Manual on drug use. And we know the day that Quinn was nominated to be fired, Tony Manderson admitted he'd been using medical THC marijuana chocolate. Well, that's fine, Tony. I don't really care except for this. The policy of Walton County is you'll have a drug-free work environment, so how can your leadership be taking the dope? So he says he has a medical marijuana card. Walton County has already fired employees who had medical marijuana cards who tested hot on your analysis. Secondly, Walton County is continuously applying for federal grants and federal money. I try to show them the document that says in order to spend that money and vote on it and stuff, you have to comply with the drug-free workplace, which Mr. Anderson would not be. So how can he even make a nomination? How can he vote to spend federal money? There may be legislation afoot in change, but Mr. Anderson is breaking the law today. And if he is, how does he even make a motion to fire Quinn? He's sitting up there breaking the law, launching investigations on the wrong people. Does that mean the sheriff can smoke medical marijuana too because he's an elected official? Is he enforcing the law? Do we enforce the federal law? We do on regular employees, but I guess Mr. Anderson's not a regular employee. Maybe trolls don't count. But let's listen to this crazy dude.
For the record, Alan Osborne. My first problem with
If I seem calm, it's because I had mouth surgery and my mouth hurt.
The nomination of termination of Quinn is exactly what somebody just said, without cause. Without cause is a serious reason. That means every single person should be voting for without cause. What kind of precedents have you set when y'all fought so hard against other people to be, if they were going to ask for punishment and something, that there should be a cause, there should be an investigation? But out of nowhere it becomes a termination. My personal opinion of the county administrator is that he's been handicapped since the day we got him. The statements by some people and the fact that it was on the agenda and never heard, we wanted at one point to basically say, you can't fire anybody. And the scary part of that, in telling the administrator that, was it means basically without conviction and without a judge and jury or your peers, if you find something and without cause, because we haven't said you've made a wrong decision. You may have vaped or whatever, but without cause you haven't made a wrong decision. You've now decided that that's enough. What are you going to tell the other employees if you want to? Do you think that would be okay if you fired other employees in the county without cause? I've lost faith in you. Anybody could go up to any employee, and you as the leadership have set the precedence. It's one thing to fire without cause, but as Mr. Anderson said, his motion stands. Everybody in the county knows that this is going to be ugly. If you do this, you'll send a message for no outside source. You're laying in your own bed, give the man a chance to make a bad decision. If you fire him with cause, but this motion is for without cause. And I will tell you this, I don't think you should take the motion. If you go back and watch the video during that motion, and please don't interrupt me, the motion to fire Quinn was made by Mr. Anderson. Do you agree, Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. Your policy 2.2 on that day is a drug-free workplace. Mr. Anderson stated that, I'm just saying this is part of it. The motion to terminate him was made by this person who may be in violation of the policy.
You have the right to confirmation who made the motion. Motive-wise and all that is not in question on the commissioner here.
I'm not
You either
talking
agree
about
with
his
the motions
motive.
or not.
Look,
Line
I'm
it
just
up
talking about
with
the rules for you.
Line up. Listen, I got them right here, so.
If you got them right there, why don't you show me I'm wrong? You can't. It says that you're to have a drug-free work environment. He said he took medical marijuana chocolate. He hadn't changed his motion, and he'd been taking it the day he made it. Now, if an employee did that, what would happen to him? And secondly, you got the problem of this man votes to spend federal money, and y'all have agreed to a federal drug-free work environment when you apply for that money. So how can he set the example? I.e., he said he's exempt from the rules because he's elected. What kind of leader is that? Again, if he's exempt, can the sheriff take him a little bit of medical marijuana chocolate and then go out and make decisions? See, I think not. But continue on, Sneakers.
I can read them.
Bill, say whatever you want to in defense of him. You're not going to attack any.
It's not an attack. I'm just saying you need authority to make a motion.
If it's in question that you may be in violation and can't make a motion, then that's what I want to bring up.
The board has the authority, if the chairman allows, to make any motion they wish. Doesn't mean it's going to get second. Doesn't mean it's going to get. But there was a and a second. And we're in discussion.
And this is
and that's illegal.
Whether somebody can
go ahead.
Nominate somebody to be terminated.
Go ahead.
Like I said, it's without cause. There's federal grant money come through here. And that day we had a statement. Y'all terminated people for having that same card. And so I have a real problem with leadership moving forward with federal grants, because federal grants that y'all vote on require a drug-free workplace under the federal government and testing. It doesn't exclude elected officials.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Turner.
Side note, Boots is mad with Fred, and Fred's probably the best planning board member we have who knows the LDC code the most. Fred's a level-headed guy, and look at Boots is already mad that Fred even wants to speak because Fred is Boots' representative on the planning board.
Good afternoon, Fred Tricker, Tricker, and I just got a couple of things I would like to ask here. Is that I know that the contract with Quinn is.
Mr. Tricker, could you speak up just a little bit?
Sorry, I need to get a little closer.
He's had too much chocolate.
Okay, so a couple of issues. Number one is I know the contract. Mr. Robertson can be fired without cause, and I haven't heard anything today to reiterate what the charges were. I think it would be useful to discuss those, but even though you can make a decision without talking about those charges, I don't think that's fair to the public. The public wants to know the basis for what you're about to do here, one way or the other. And I would just like to say that I've had limited interactions with Mr. Robertson. I've been upfront and fair. I've been very informed. And my other question I have for the board is, if you go about terminating this individual today, what follows? What comes next? How long is it going to take us to recover from that? And I think it's just a travesty that we would even think about doing that at this stage of the game for somebody that just got here. So that's my 2 cents worth. It might be 4 cents worth, I don't know.
I want to respond for just a second. One, I respect your words of encouragement for him, but I want to ask you a question. When was the last time you questioned the sheriff on who he...
Where the fuck did this come from, Boots? Nobody's even mentioned the sheriff's name. He said he wants to know why y'all are firing him. And Boots' answer, who still thinks he's a cop, evidently, is how dare you question the sheriff, you don't question us. A, y'all aren't the sheriff. B, this is public comment. And C, you're going to pay him severance for an action without cause. You owe us some answers. But somehow, and then Fred has to say, look, Fred must have been looking at him like he had sneakers on. Because he doesn't even know where this came from. Fred's caught off guard and said, well, I don't know who, Fred baby, I don't know anything about who the sheriff hires and fires, but go ahead. Now listen to this bullshit from Boots and watch Tony and Danny.
He hired the sheriff. When was the last time he met with any other elected official on who they hired and who they... If I had the floor, I asked the question. You get to ask questions, I ask questions. No, I'm following.
I'll answer the question. I don't think I've ever. I don't recall ever having questioned anybody's decision about firing an employee. This is an issue that is incredibly important to Walton County. If we go ahead with this, we're going to be set back 10 years. It took us long enough to get to the point where we have professionals in a position where they can make changes, and Walton County wants changes. People sitting back here want change. They don't want the same old.
We have a little election for that. Anything else, Mr.
Well, that was basically code for fuck you people. Excuse my French. If you don't like what we do, then go unelect us. I hope you people are listening to what Mr. McCormick just said. That's what elections are for. If you don't like this, unelect us. Fred is disgusted. It's the first time I've ever seen Fred walk out of a meeting early tonight.
No, sir.
Okay.
Because Boots just shut him down.
Yes, sir.
Now watch this one closely. Boots doesn't like Dan. I don't know why. Dan's a great dude. He's part of the Driveway Liberty podcast.
MATACCHIERO. I'm one of those negative Facebook people. So I'm going to read a written statement because I don't trust myself. So I'd like to not be interrupted until I'm finished. Then you can ask questions and you can interrupt at the end. I originally intended to come here and speak in hopes of appealing to your sense of right and wrong.
Boots interrupts
and appeal
everybody.
For you to do what is right and just, to do what is in the best interest of the citizens, of the people who elected you. For a couple of you commissioners, I realized that effort would be a lost cause, an exercise in futility. I'd be naive to think that convincing you was even possible. So basically, I'm here to speak to you. I'm sorry, for a couple of other commissioners, I believe you will do what is right based on your past words and actions. So basically, I'm here to speak to you, Chairman McCormick. Feeling your sense of what's right.
You're out of order. I'm ruling you out of order.
Now listen to this. Boots has told people 20 times, addressed everything to me as the chairman. Dan says, I'm appealing to you, Chairman, and he says, you're out of order. I swear to God, this is ridiculous. But go ahead, Boots. Make an ass of yourself in front of everybody. They're already yelling. Trey's people are going, Boots is an idiot. If you can't hear that.
You're addressing me. This is for you to explain your support for him.
If you let
No, sir.
Finish.
No, sir.
We'll get there.
No, sir. No, sir. Here's the deal. You're out of order. You can agree with it or not.
Why am I out of order?
If you pursue with that, then your time at the is done.
So me
if you
saying
want to,
I speak to you is out of order?
I am not the agenda here. You're not here to discuss me.
Look at Donna. She's like, oh my God. Brad's over there going, is this happening? Now we're trying to figure out pronouns. Are you addressing me as Boots or me as chairman? But either way, you're out of order. Dan is just totally flabbergasted having watched Boots tell everybody to address him. And then Danny wanted to help Boots, and Donna's like, oh my God. And Quinn's like, well, I see where this is going. So anyway, continue, Boots.
You're here to discuss your support for this individual. Not to publicly chastise me.
I'm not publicly chastising you. Let me finish,
no,
and then you can react to it, because I'm not publicly chastising you.
Recess, 10 minutes.
So we were just about to have a fisticuffs again, and somebody else was going to get threatened to take to the parking lot and have their ass whipped, I guess, Boots. I don't know. You're just so easy to deal with. See what I'm talking about, people? No, Boots isn't aggressive. Yeah, you keep saying that. Watch what happens when he has to speak in public. So Boots takes a recess because Clay goes, take a recess. Boots goes, we're in recess. Everybody else like, what? So we start back over. They put the time back on the clock. Dan's only talked for a minute. And so far we've had a minute-long fight because Dan's addressed a comment to the chair. And Boots flipped out. So here we go again. Watch what happens now.
Sir, you have the floor.
If Boots was wrong, he gives it.
That we start over. Since you interrupted me, start with the beginning of 3 minutes.
No, sir.
Why not?
Your clock's running. Clock's running.
Afraid of the First Amendment? Do you not want to hear what the citizens have to say?
Anything in support of you accolades?
I was getting to the part to support them, but every other meeting that we go to, we have to address the chair. Address the chair, and you immediately cut me off.
Start the clock.
So basically, I'm here to appeal to you, Mr. Chairman, which seems like an exercise in futility. I'm appealing to your sense of what's right and wrong with the hope that you will act with integrity and fairness. I'm hoping that you will act in the best interests of the people you were elected to represent. I know you're unhappy with Mr. Robertson's decision to file a criminal complaint regarding some of the actions taken against him. I understand your desire to handle those things civilly and in-house. I know you believe that the decision alone.
So Clay just told Boots, Clay the puppet master just stuck his hand up Boots' ass. You see him? Clay runs everything. And him and Tony read it off the script. When Tony speaks later, watch him tee up his statement prepared by Shiphead. But watch it. Watch who's really running the show. Watch what's going on. Pay attention, people.
Enough to convince you to.
You're out of order. You're time.
To represent the board, advise him to take that course of action.
That's it, sir. Out of order. Second time, you no longer have the floor. Let's warn you.
How was I out of order the first time?
He does not have the floor. He may sit in the audience if he cares to, but.
So he was out of order the first time, and then Clay decides he discussed something wrong, and that's an automatic termination. Watch what's going on, people. We can't address our elected officials. He's thrown out.
But you do not have the floor and will not be recognized.
I have a First Amendment right to talk.
You have the right to sit down.
Here come the goons.
You're out of order. You have the right to participate back there in the back.
Here come the goons, and they bring a lot of them nowadays.
Yes,
You
sir.
should never even have one, just sat in the corner.
You cannot speak
Now they walk around and stare
ongoing
you
litigation.
down.
I will not allow a conversation. Investigation. Yes. Bring that in.
About something that was said earlier in the meeting.
I've made my ruling. You can disagree with it. Take whatever proper action you feel you need to take. You no longer have floor. Gentlemen, who's next? Who's next?
Boots is losing his mind. He just wants to beat somebody up.
Right now, my order says.
I'm trying to read something.
Gentlemen,
I'm a taxpayer.
would you like to sit in? Would you like to sit in for the rest of the meeting? You're welcome to. Do not leave that podium. You will be escorted outside the podium. That's what you've got to deal with.
You're going to violate my First Amendment.
You can call it whatever you want. That's my call. You can challenge it. You have your options to challenge it.
Stand down. Stand down.
What a great job Dan did standing up for First Amendment rights. And look, everybody's just blown away. Just blown away. But you know who's not blown away? Boots isn't blown away because he's never served the Constitution. Clay's not blown away because Clay was taught the Constitution served him. Danny is wondering if he has to go poop. And Tony's probably trying to listen to his earpiece from Shipman. This was shameful. It's shameful. If anything Chas got right here's the Nazis. Not the people. It's these people. And the people that direct them. And here's Dan.
Okay. I look back at when Mr. Quinn was being hired, and I watched that particular meeting 3 or 4 times. And I know we're trying to do this without cause, but Tony thought he was the best thing since sliced bread at the time. I just watched it over and over again, so I'm just curious, as a citizen, what changed so much that you can't let the public know why you changed? Why you changed your decision?
If you're posing to ask the question, Commissioner Anderson, do you wish to respond?
No.
I just feel that the citizen.
You know why? So that was Dan's point, and I'm skipping through a few people, but Dan's running, so I'm not going to cut him off. But Tony didn't want to respond because it's not quick. Shipman can't type that fast. And, nobody can run over there. His little lady, where's Laura today? Is she hiding in the back room? I think so. Anyway, That little comment about her activities, boy, that shut her down, didn't it, online? Anyway, let's go on to the next person here. We'll get some Barbara Morano here. And Miss Morano, if you don't know Miss Morano, she's an eloquent speaker. She's a principal.
This is a new man coming in, someone from out of state.
And listen to what she says.
And yes,
Barbara speaks a lot and serves
up.
the South Walton Community Council also.
And he did shake things up. And he wrote a report that he was asked to write. And that report was looked at by HR, approved. It was looked at by our interim county attorney and approved. They said you can give that document to the public and have it public.
The report she's referring to is the one that Quinn did at their request, and Anderson and Glidewell got all butthurt because it said they broke the law. Continue, Barbara.
And yet, he got admonished at that committee meeting for giving you that report. This county has been without a county administrator really for at least 3 years. We had an interim, Tony Corman. We had Larry Jones, who got sick. And you have no strategic plan. You heard Superintendent Hughes, you just heard Mr. Atkinson talk about coming together because we have a lot of plans. Right now, there's a strategic plan sitting on Mr. Quinn's desk that he expected to show you, and we don't have that. You talk about hiring a real estate agent. The county administrator can do that. I do not want Mr. Quinn terminated. You also said without cause. Well, if you listen to some of the back videos, you said a lot of causes. So you do have causes, and I think they're very much unfounded. You talk about companies wanting to come here. All they have to do is look at this video. Is this the quality of life that we want to show Tallahassee, that we are terminating a good man without cause? The answer is no. When money was taken out of the hurricane fund to reduce taxes, Mr. Quinn found $4 million.
There's Sharon's phone again.
$4 million that we did not have to spend. Mr. Quinn needs to stay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Barbara.
Who's next?
Thank you, Barbara.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Kevin Raleigh, for the record, R-O-L-L-E. And I just want to elaborate on something that Ms. Morano brought up. I know this is being put forward, and the motion is a without cause. But as we all know, this motion has been brought up multiple times, and there has been prior discussion on this board. And in that discussion, many things were brought up, though at the end, the without cause was tacked on. So I think it is appropriate to discuss those things that were said on record. Specifically, I want to address the fact that one of the discussion, and it's led to other things, was about whether or not Mr. Robertson had the right to do certain hires without the board's approval. And from what I understand and what the discussions were, it came to light that there is a process for that that has been ignored and not enacted by this body, and people prior to yourselves even, for a great deal of time. And this board made a statement, and I don't recall who it was, so it's not important, that we should, if we find out we're doing something wrong, we don't keep doing it that way. We start following the rules, following the law. That makes good sense. If you find out you're doing something wrong, you start following the law. The board is going to hold themselves to that and say, hey, we're going to do it right going forward. Why would it not make sense to then afford that same leniency, which I think can be appropriate in certain circumstances, on the individual in question here, Mr. Quinn? Hey, we're going to do it right. We haven't been doing that way. We realize he shouldn't be doing that. If we're going to start following the law and he starts following that same regulation with us, well, why should he be penalized for that? There's no logic to that. Again, you want to have conversations, and there was plenty of other things brought up, that lead to a belief or a make case for a justification to remove someone, to terminate them from a job that they've only been at for less than a year, yet at the end you tack on a without cause as a get out of jail free card from the responsibility of the decision and the action being taken. It's not appropriate. The optics are horrible, and I don't know how anyone could sleep at night knowing they did that to a man. Thank you.
May I? I would just like to say you did mention about the fact that we're not properly confirming people.
And that was the statements put forward.
Correct. Well, we had an investigation done by an outside attorney, and out of that investigation, what he came up with was the assistant county administrator position, which is Joe Turner's position in Walton County, is not a department head under Florida Statute 124.
Now, Boots looked at Clay because the word Joe Turner was said. That's who they really wanted to fire. And so Boots immediately had snapped his head over to look at Clay when Donna said Joe Turner. He's just hoping. Boots ain't going to get 1 foot from Clay so they can talk with each other. And I believe he's actually even changed seat positions since he used to sit, I think, where Donna is. I'm going to go back and look.
5741K, which would require BCC confirmation. So, in fact, Mr. Turner's employment did not have to come before our board, and Mr. Robertson did nothing wrong.
I believe that to be absolutely true.
So Donna just pointed out that one of the rumors and one of the things Tony and them came after, and Danny, look at the looks on their face, that all ended up being unfounded. Just bullshit. Let's see who else we got here. A lot of people got fired up. So many people. This show will be so long, and I'm trying to condense it, but I can't cut off Suzanne. So go ahead, Suzanne. Go get them.
Suzanne Harris. It's not Harrison.
Harrison.
I don't even know what to say because I came here to just really and truly at the beginning to listen and see what y'all did. When Quinn first came, I was totally against what he did when he first got here. I think Tony Anderson knows that. I think Quinn knows it. I called him and told him I'm not shy when I don't like something. I think Quinn appointed Tony Corman before he ever took office to be the deputy before he got to know him. I was right. He should have gotten to know him first before he did it. The second thing is to sit in this audience and listen to somebody outside tell somebody that they want to get rid of somebody because they're a MAGA. I hope Trump sees this and our governor sees this. This is the biggest abomination of a meeting I think I've ever been to in Walton County.
Amen, sister.
Now, Quinn, if you got any sense, you'll tell them after this meeting, you'll talk to that photographer and tell them what else is going on that you've been set up for.
He knows,
but
too,
this
people.
Is absolutely awful. And to fire somebody that you just put under and notified he was under a felony investigation yesterday.
Here's the whole thing
that's
set up.
I can discuss it. To fire him today
Harrison,
is ridiculous. So everybody here needs to know, yesterday he went under a felony investigation.
Thank you.
Now here's the thing. Why didn't he send the deputies after the other people who were out of order? Why only people like me and Dan Matichero? Why only us? Boots is going to try to flex on the people, but he knew better than to go. She said all the wrong words, and him and Clay tiptoed around it because they freaking knew better. That's why. So I'm going to skip on through some stuff here. Let's get to we know there's like 35 people that speak here. Hold on. Okay, we had some more speakers. Dan Cosen, Betty Lecter, Tabitha Howard. Let's see, Lisa Vega. I hope I didn't leave any. A lot of good people got up and spoke, but I want to get to the meat of the matter. So public comment's been closed. Watch everybody's expressions. Watch where this goes. And I'm not going to try to interrupt this that much.
The motion is on the table. Would we like to resubmit the motion for the record?
Madam Clerk, you have it from the prior meeting. If not, the motion will be to terminate the county administrator. Just cause was not named, so it will be a without cause termination. Is that the motion, Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
And was that the second? Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson?
Do we speak or not?
All right, hang on.
Don't we have an opportunity to speak?
I spoke at the last meeting on the issue.
We're supposed to
Okay,
speak.
all right, I pulled the vote back. Go ahead. I want to make sure.
I would like to say a few things.
Get 'em, Donna.
First of all, I was one that interviewed Mr. Robertson, and I was extremely impressed. And if I remember correctly, Commissioner Anderson said the same thing about his interview with Mr. Robertson. And I'm still extremely impressed. And has he told things I didn't want to hear sometimes? Yes, he has. But that's his job. It's his job to make sure we're doing the right thing. And he hasn't been here, I believe, maybe 7 months. And he spent 3 months of that with this on his back. What are we doing as a community? What are we doing to ruin someone's life? To have them move, to come to this area, to be the best thing that I have seen. And I've been coming to these meetings for many, many more years than I've been sitting up here. But I am so impressed with him. I know that our ordinances and our codes and a lot of our offices, we've got a mess. You're right, Miss Flint, we have a mess. And we need to clean it up. We need to get professional. We need to get organized, and we need to do things properly. And he, to me, is our hope for that. And I am elected to do what you want. And every single one of you has said, in addition to the multiple emails I've received in favor of Mr. Robertson, some of them just amazing what people put in writing about how they feel about him, what a great job he is doing. This is our opportunity to really move this county forward and make things proper and have them done right. Instead of all this backstabbing and everything else, I didn't sign up for all this backstabbing. Actually, my job, I wanted to come in and help do roads and parks and stormwater and things like that. And instead, I'm dealing with stuff like this. And I got to tell you, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I don't like it, and I'm certain that Mr. Turner and Mr. Robertson don't like it. They came here to do a job, not to have somebody's attorney stand out in the parking lot and say that he didn't want these people in these jobs. What are we doing caring about what an attorney that's not an employee of this county, who is he to determine who works in these positions?
She's referring to Gary Shipman.
That I really have a problem with. I really question that. We are supposed to be a county of people trying to do good things for each other. And right now we're tearing each other apart. And we've got 1, 2, I don't know how many people up here that are willing to just throw this man to the side after we've brought him here. He's got a year contract in his domicile, and he's done absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely not one single solitary thing wrong. And we want to throw him to the side like we did with Larry Jones and Jay Tusa and Dee Dee Highnote and Heather Maxwell and all the others that we've thrown to the side. What are we doing? This is absurd, absolutely absurd. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for this county. And I pray, and I have been praying, that we keep and allow Mr. Robertson and Mr. Turner to continue on with their jobs. We need them. And every single one of you have gotten up to say that we need him. Not one single person has said we don't want him. Not one. Well, I take that back. One. But the people that we have been elected to represent are you. Amen. And our job is to do what you brought us on board to do. So why in the world would we sit here and listen to all of you and how you feel and what you think and what you want for this community, and then turn around and do the opposite? That's asinine to me. Absolutely asinine. I hope that this does not happen. I hope that Mr. Turner and Mr. Robertson are able to keep their jobs, because if they in fact are successful in firing Mr. Robertson, then they're going to turn around. See, they can't fire Mr. Turner unless they fire Mr. Robertson, because Mr. Turner doesn't work for the board. And according to the attorney outside in the parking lot, the goal is to get rid of Mr. Turner too, because he's a MAGA.
I have a real problem with that because I'm a MAGA.
Now, anyway, all that stuff has to do with the politics of the county. Now, we're about to go in to Mr. Drake's statement. And I want to lead it with this. A lot of people, I want you to listen to what Brad Drake says. I want you to listen to his words very closely. And if you've been watching his facial expressions during the meeting, you'll see. Now, what I will tell you is that Danny Glidewell at the end jumps in after Drake talks, thanking Drake for what he says. Well, I'm going to tell you what Drake says is not flattering to Danny. So if you'll listen to his words, I'll tell you what I personally got out of what Drake said. Because initially, I heard the audience react that he was going to vote to terminate Quinn. But I think this is what he said. He basically said, I've been around, I've been in government, and when I had the chance, when a chance to lead in my county, I took it. And I come back here expecting to find joy. And he's serious. He believes that there's an evil running through the government. And some people took it as them. But what you can't see are the people around the rooms grinning like a Cheshire cat. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I got better things to do than stress over bad government. And all of us who come out there and speak out, it takes an enormous effort to do that as a citizen. So none of us really want to be there. And who wants to see a shit show? Nobody wants that. So before you decide that Brad was on their side, I think he realized that the good old boys and the evil around was going to cause so many problems that it was better just to let Quinn go now rather than risk a greater lawsuit. You know, I think he was just like, he knows Quinn can't be effective with a subvert. We saw how many employees showed up thinking they could force Tony and them and Shipman. It's all the people in planning that showed up. It's all the people who are breaking the rules is who formed the lynch mob, went to Shipman, and Tony takes his orders from Shipman. Danny will take his orders from anybody that tries to help him take the crap off how bad he looks and anything that could help Barker. This is just ridiculous what goes on. But anyway, I'd like you to listen to Commissioner Drake's words and listen to his emotion. He's deeply saddened by what he sees occur, and we all should be. America is precious. And when it comes to the point that we're tearing ourselves apart just trying to run our government, we need to focus to God and the Constitution. We've got to be right by the Constitution. People smarter than us wrote it. And so let's let Mr. Drake talk. Here's Brad. Listen to his words carefully.
I had an opportunity to start my day this morning full court with a men's prayer group that meets at Destiny. I had an opportunity to start my day this morning at a men's prayer group at Destiny Worship. I've been invited a number of times to attend, and I just hadn't had an opportunity, but today I was. The passage of Scripture that came up this morning, it's a study of Revelations chapter 12. And it says, "But terror will come on the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger, knowing that he has little time." The truth will stand when the world's on fire. I didn't come here to be popular. I came here to do what's right. God gives all of us a purpose. Each and every one of us has a purpose. And our purpose is to make sure God's purpose is fulfilled. That passage of Scripture is fitting because the devil has come down in great anger, knowing that he has little time. What I have witnessed over the course of the few months that I have been here is that that's true. I've seen evil brought out in so many people in so many circumstances. This community is divided. This community is at a time of hurt. I've seen evil permeate among individuals on both sides of this issue. This is not easy, but there comes a time that community, in order for a community to prosper, a community must heal. Currently, we're distracted. We're distracted because evil is pervasive in this community. And I am not grandstanding. I'm speaking from what God gives me right now. I want everyone to know that that's what's dividing this community. It's not one individual over another. It's the existence of evil. We all have limited amounts of time to make contributions. Some of us have chosen to make contributions to our community in public service. Some make contributions through serving others by working in the schools or in other professions. But right now, what's going on, it's very difficult to find that anyone is progressing on purpose, on God-given purpose. And that is sad. It breaks my heart to pieces because I genuinely love everyone. I love this community. I love the people. There's nothing wrong with people that moved here from another town, from another state, from another city. There's nothing wrong with people that have lived there, that have lived here our whole lives. The wrong is in the evil of the heart of men and women who focus only on evil and self. So I'm going to have to do something very difficult today. We're going to have to deny self. And we've got to heal in this community, and we have to start over. Mr. Roberts, I'm very sorry, but this is not entirely your fault. You came here with a purpose. You wanted to do what's right. You wanted to do good. You wanted to make changes, and you tried. But what I have to share with you, or what I have to reveal in my heart, is I don't think that what you intend to do or what you want to do, the capabilities exist for you to do that. And I'm very sorry to say that. We have to heal as a community. We have to heal as a county. And we have to heal as a board. When we come in through that door right there, and we already know that the score is 2-2, and then maybe there's another one. Or maybe we know the score is 4-1, or maybe we know the score is 3-2. When we walk through there, we know that there is division, and we can't have that. That's not why a community exists. And I'm very sorry to say this. I may lose friends over this, and I don't care. I came here, I asked for this assignment, and I said, I want to go back home, and I want to do what's right. But let me tell you something. There's no joy in what's happening right now. There's no joy. I've looked out over the crowd, and I've seen some shit-eating grins on people's faces, and I find that unacceptable. When I was a young boy, I remember watching a football game. I was probably 5-6 years old, and the team I was pulling for, a player on the other team got hurt. It was their star player, and I jumped up off the couch and I celebrated. I said, he's out of the game. And my father got up and he got in my face. He said, son, you don't ever celebrate someone who's hurt. Ever. I learned a valuable lesson in that. For those of you that are celebrating this, I implore you to get right. Evil persists in the heart of man like a cancer. It's got to stop. We've got to move on. We've got to become a better community together. And so I'm going to support the motion, and it brings me great pain, but I have to do what's right, and that's not always easy. Mr. Chairman.
What Brad, in my opinion, just said that the situation with Joe had become untenable, meaning the county can't progress forward, and it's not really his fault, and he just doesn't think he has the capability to overcome what's tearing the county apart. But he also said he's only doing it to move forward. He's not doing it to get along, to go along. And he's telling all those people celebrating the fact that I'm going to vote to terminate them, well, you're part of the problem if you're happy. He's right. You shouldn't gloat on somebody else's injury. But you also have to consider sometimes when we come up there, the public is simply seeking an eye for an eye. They feel their government has harmed them, and they want to point out the other harm. Do you think that's possible with Boots McCormick as a chair? Listen to the free speech today. Now, Donna about loses her stuff over this, but I'm going to end it just to make this show a little bit shorter. But at the end of the show, and I'm not going to give them the glory of it, as soon as they vote, he recesses, and Quinn is escorted to the back by the deputy. I'm sure they took all his IDs like he'd done something wrong. He was escorted through the back door where probably Tony's aide was sitting back there talking to somebody named Stan, who knows. It's just terrible. And that's the way it is. And I'm going to tell you, Brad didn't like getting rid of Quinn. Donna's beside herself. And Boots got a free get out of jail card because his vote didn't matter. I just wish Boots would have had to vote first. That's what really would have shown the cards. But I think if you watch this, you'll see the cards. Brad's right. We've got an evil, just not here locally. He's reading from the book of Revelations. We better look around us at the world and hold America tight. God and country are going to become real important one day. And if you've got faith in God, you need faith in country, and it starts right here being involved in your local government. And that's the way it was on the biggest shit show I've ever seen on the Alan Osborne show. It's time to rise up. We need a new sheriff. We need some new commissioners. And we need an investigation on what's going down around here. I can't make this shit up. So y'all keep straight out there, because God knows government can't keep themselves straight. I'll see you next time on the Alan Osborne Show.